What's up, Facebook Live, Instagram Live? Nice to see you all. Hopefully, you're having an amazing morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're tuning from in the world. My favorite thing I came up with, maybe this is your late night snack that you're up watching. Now, wherever you're tuning in from, I'd love to know, number one, where you're tuning in from. Number two, I'd love to know three things you're grateful for out there in the world. We're on day number 55 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge. And today's topic is how to not get your feelings hurt when dealing with a difficult friend or family member. So let's see what's going on. Hello from Boston. Hello from Philly, Melbourne, Australia. Good day, good morning. Good afternoon, Matthew. Nice to see you. Marianne, welcome. Moon, welcome back. Ottawa, Canada, welcome. Nice to see you. Sinead, welcome. Chicago, family, life, and peace. Very nice. Portugal, family and around me. Good to see you from around the world. Vermont, stay warm up there. Good afternoon, watching from Toronto. Kelly, nice to see you. Sonia, welcome back. Philly, what's up, friends? Callie, nice to see you. So in getting started, Romania, that's awesome. Welcome. Sinead, it's okay. I got it. I have another friend named Sinead. She's a wonderful human. My Irish friends. Let's see. Hey, brother, Danny T from New Jersey. Welcome, Danny. So we're going to dive in on this one. And Rhode Island, welcome. So we're going to dive in, and we're going to say how many of you, by raise of hands in the comment section, how many of you have ever talked to a difficult family member or friend and afterwards were incredibly hurt, frustrated, upset, just anything other than lovingly, passionately excited and feeling so wonderful about it? How many of you have ever done this? Meaning you talk to a family member or friend, you get off the phone, and you're just like, ooh. So I'm seeing hands up, yes, someone clapping. So I'm guessing it's happened to you before. Now, how many of you wanted to just be like, I wish I could get them to change. I wish I could get them to understand what I'm trying to say. I wish I could get them to, and then whatever you want to insert, do something, change something. Oh yeah. So here we go. Here's all the comments. Yes, me. What's up from India? Totally. Yes. Okay. So you get what I'm talking about. This is the moment I'm talking about. Is I want to give you a couple filters, because my wife was asking me, she's like, how come you never get upset? Or you rarely get upset? And I said, oh, there's a filter I use when I'm talking to people to understand if it's something worth reacting over or if it's something completely different that has nothing to do with me. And so watch this. I'm going to give you some filters, and you're going to want to write these down. Number one, my very first filter I ask when someone calls and they're either all worked up or they're all excited or they're sad or frustrated or whatever, but they called and there's a lot of emotion. I say, okay, real quick, are they being logical or illogical right now? Meaning, is this logical or emotion? Is it all emotional or is it pure logic and facts? That's the first thing I ask. So someone type it in the comment section, logic versus emotion. So logical or illogical. And emotion doesn't have to be illogical. It's not logic. So either logic or emotion. Let's say that real quick to start with. So that's the very first filter. So think back, and I'm going to show you why they were upset. And so when you were talking to them real quick, were they being logical or emotional? Or I'm not going to say emotional. I'm sorry. Logical or illogical? Logical or illogical? You can still be emotionally logical. So let's just say logic or illogic, one or the other. Which one were they? When you got upset, when your feelings were hurt, when you were frustrated, were they logical or illogical? You're going to see a pattern here in the comment section. And I'm going to guess, if I just had to take a stab in the dark, that they were being illogical in that moment. It was not a logical conversation of what was going on. Or you were being illogical, one or the other. But most of the time, they were being illogical. Second, you want to ask this next question. Was it an act of love or a cry for help? It's one of my favorite questions. Act of love or cry for help? So were they being logical or illogical is the first one. So let me grab my little dry erase board here. It's my favorite little tool for these live chats. So let me throw this up here. So we're going to say logical versus illogical. So our first two, logical versus illogical, if you could read that. And then we're going to say cry for help or act of love. So is the cry for help or an act of love? So for most people, what I'm seeing here, and there's some rare occasions, but for most people, what we're reading, if you're watching the comments, when you got your feelings hurt, they were being illogical and it was a cry for help. Which means the next question, if you want to make a little chart of this, the next question you should realize is when someone is illogical and it's a cry for help, meaning they call and they say, oh my gosh, last week when you did this and this and this and this, you go, wait a second, real quick, before I respond, before I get triggered, before I get hooked or react to this, are they being logical or illogical right now? And they're going, they're being illogical. This is just all over the place. It's illogical. It's not like, hey, last Thursday, 2 p.m., you said something, and honestly, it just kind of got under my skin. Like, that's not the logical response you're getting. What you're getting is an illogical response. It's just like firing off emotions. You said this and this and this, and then they said that and this and this, and it's all over the place. You're like, whoa, illogical. Okay. Second, is this an act of love? Are they like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you're so amazing, I love you, you're so incredible, and everything that you've shared with me, I just wanted to tell you it touched my life. That you can illogical do an act of love where you're just on a rant of all the things that you love and appreciate and are amazing about this human. Or it can be totally illogical and a cry for help. And you did this, and your friend said this, and that's why you upset me, and this pissed me off, and that hurt my feelings, and this is wrong, and that's wrong. It's an illogical cry for help. Cry for help meaning there's pain. So the next question is you go, oh my gosh, this is an illogical cry for help. The next question, the only thing you need to ask is, where's the pain? What's causing the pain in this human? And realize it's nothing to do with you. They might be, but you said this, and you said this, and you said this, and you go, wow, this is an illogical cry for help. This has nothing to do with me. There's pain somewhere in this person's life. And if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, figure out where the pain is and help them heal the pain. And all of a sudden, they'll drop right back into a beautiful place. And you're like, oh, great. You don't have to, but you're welcome to. And I'll give you a bunch more filters in a second, other things you can use to filter through people that we talk about in our Performance Coach University. But here's the other situation. The opposite would be they start talking to you and you're like, wow, they're very logical in what they're saying right now. Second, they're here and they just seem to be so kind and generous in what they're doing. Seems like an act of love. And, you know, that turns into a beautiful conversation. Someone calls you, they're very generous, they're very caring, they're listening to you, they're loving on you, they're saying nice things to you. It doesn't mean it's all compliments and fluffiness. It just means they're very kind and generous with who they are and they're in their spirit. You know, they're speaking to you from a beautiful place and it feels good to communicate with them. So they're logical. It's an act of love. Man, it's a beautiful conversation. Illogical, cry for help, nothing to do with you. So therefore you got to ask a question. Where's the pain in this person? What's causing this? And all of a sudden, if you solve where the pain is, you get back the beautiful friend or the beautiful family member that you know them to be. So I wanted to give you this little chart because hopefully this will be useful. I also wanted to give you, real quick, I just wanted to give you a few other things. And these are things that I always ask other, I guess, filters, you could say, when communicating. Number one, am I getting the best version of them right now, an average version of them right now, or the worst version of them right now? Meaning, when you're your best version, you got lots of sleep, you've eaten, you're hydrated, you've worked out, you've meditated. Like, I'm going to get the best version of you if I'm getting you after all this self-work you've been doing and like, wow, you're a really great version of you. Am I getting an average version of you? they've missed, they've missed lunch, or they haven't eaten all day. They're exhausted. They haven't slept in a while. They just got off a flight. Something bad happened at work. They got yelled at. Like, am I getting an average version of them, or am I getting the worst version where like they didn't sleep, they didn't eat, they're totally exhausted, they're worn down, they're frustrated, they're upset, something bad happened, and then I get to meet them. Now, if you want to really truly, and no one's at their best 24/7, but if you're the kind of family member or friend that goes, oh my gosh, they haven't slept, they haven't eaten, they're tired, they're exhausted, man, they might need a nap. I know what I'll do. Before I ask them this big important question, before I bring up this big topic that we need to talk about as a family or as friends, I'm going to take them some lunch. I'm going to say, hey, I'll come over and watch your little one for a little bit. Why don't you go take a nap? Just relax. Like, just rejuvenate. Like, go meditate, relax, work out. I'll hang out here with the little kid. You go do you. Get back to your best self. And all of a sudden, I don't know how many of you are parents in here where that would sound like heaven to you. A family member or a friend just showed up and they said, hey, I feel like you're a little worn down. I'd love to help. Why don't I just show up? I'll take care of your little one. You go take a nap, go to the gym, work out, meditate, get your stuff done. And then, we should talk about whatever this needs to happen afterwards when you're your best self. So you're seeing little hands and thumbs up. People are like, what a good idea. Yeah. Versus calling the person when they're exhausted, tired, frustrated, beat up at their worst self and be like, we need to talk. You're not going to get a very good version of them. You're going to get the version that sounds like it's coming from their ego, that they're going to attack you. You're not going to get a version of them. Versus if you can help them get to their best self, all of a sudden you get a beautiful version of them. Second, are they here to give or are they here to take? Are they here to give or are they here to take? Now, an easy one here, and this one gets people all the time because they're like, no, I just want to give. I just want to share. I just want to help. But then the God honest truth is they show up and they're like, but I want them to understand me. No, you're trying to get understanding. But I want them to change their behavior. No, you're trying to get them to do something. And so you got to ask, am I really here to give or am I here to take? Am I here to give them space to be themselves? Am I here to give them all the love regardless of how they behave? Am I here to support and love them and give to them regardless if I get back what I want or not? That's a big question. It's hard. If you're going to be there to give, that means you have to have all of your buckets filled. I am enough, I'm loved enough, and I have enough. If all those buckets are filled, all of a sudden you don't need anything from anyone. Therefore, you can be there to give. If you're trying to get them to give you a certain reaction, if you're trying to give them to give you love or approval, if you're trying to change their behavior, you're trying to get something out of them or from them, or get them to do something different, not going to work. So you got to make sure you take care of yourself first and have those three buckets. I am enough, I'm loved enough, I have enough. Those full, you're only there to share. Share the love, share the abundance, share the beauty. Now, go to them, and if they're there to take, share it with them if you want to. You don't need anything. You're just there to love on them. And that's a totally different conversation. You will not get hooked or triggered because you're only there to share, and you're not there to get anything. You don't even need them to fucking be kind to you or nice to you. Excuse the language, but you don't. They can be a total jerk. You're like, that's okay. I just called to give you some love. Hope you like it. If you don't, that's cool too. I don't need even the approval of the love. You're just there to share. It's a totally different place to come from. Next, so we talked about best, average, worst, giving versus taking. You can go to there's things we talk about in Performance Coach University, which is their level of consciousness, if you've read Spiral Dynamics. And so with Spiral Dynamics, are they, in a survival mode? Are they in a striver, driver, achiever, more, better mode? Are they in a let's take care of everyone in the world mode? But if you understand their level of consciousness of how they operate, you can understand how to communicate to them in their language. I always say each level of consciousness is like speaking a different language. If you're a green person trying to help and take care of the world, you have a certain language you speak, certain words that make sense, certain emotions that you respond to. If you're all about orange, striver, driver, achiever, more, bigger, better, you've got a language you respond to. You've got words that you connect with. Therefore, if a German person showed up and wanted in Paris to get to the Eiffel Tower to have a banana Nutella crepe, and they started yelling in German, like, I want a crepe, and everyone in French is like, huh? They don't speak your language. If you're talking to someone at a different level of consciousness, they don't get what you're saying because you're not speaking their language. So another filter is, Google spiral dynamics, are you speaking their language? Are you speaking the language of their level of consciousness? And there's like 7 different levels. It's how they ended apartheid in South Africa. We talk about this in depth in Performance Coach University, which is our online coach training program. It's really important to know, especially if you're in a leadership position, if you're a parent, if you're in a family who has lots of people, you got to know this stuff. The final one I would say is the stage of life. There's a lady named Alison Armstrong who wrote books on men and women's developmental stages of life that they go through. And as they develop through different stages, like 0 to 13 years old as a young man, it's all about proving to themselves that they're capable of going out into the world and taking on adventure. When they're, let's say, 13 to 25 or 30, it's all about proving to themselves what they can do. So their life is all about trying to get to the next peak, the next peak, the next peak, the next peak. When you're 35 to 55, it's all about investing your life into something that's worth investing your life into. If you want to save yourself a massive headache in relationships, when a man hits right between this 35 to 55 age range, he either believes, number one, he has to find a partner to build their life together, or number two, he has to build everything first and then find the person to share it with. The people who get their heart broken are the people who build with him for 20 years and then he kicks her out to find the person to share it with. Oof, when people hate that, men and women, because they don't want to get kicked out once it's all set up. But it's really important to pay attention and think through that concept of, you want to know, I'm seeing little mad faces pop up on Facebook. It happens. Something you want to study and something you want to know. We talk about these stages of men and women. Women have a path too. How women go between, she calls it princess, which is wanting someone strong enough that she will allow to take care of her. Not that she's not capable. She's certainly capable of taking care of herself, but strong enough that she can trust, that's trustworthy and consistent, that she will allow them to step up and take care of her and make the decisions. Or businesswoman, she wants them to get the hell out of her way so she can get it done. And so it's like, wow, that's a whole different experience. And so if you look at stages of life, how do men and women match up in different stages and different moments? How do women and women, or men and men, like they all match up differently? I remember originally I taught this on a cruise ship. When I got done teaching about these stages of life, these 2 little women in their 80s were sitting in the back, and they said, we came to listen to this because we thought, what could someone so young possibly know about relationships? We came to humor ourselves. They said, we listened to the whole thing and we were wildly impressed. This is really useful, and we wanted to say thank you. Literally 10 seconds later, a 15-year-old girl ran across the room and was like, that was so cool, and then ran away. I was like, wow, that's really useful. So that's something we talk about in Performance Coach University as well, where we're talking about the different stages of men and women's development and how to understand what they need, what they want, what they desire in every stage, and how to identify where you're at and how to identify where a potential partner or friend or business partner is at, because at different stages and ages, they need to be communicated with differently, just so you know. So hopefully this was helpful. If you found some use in this, click share it with someone who needs it. There's a few questions. Let me see if I can answer them real quick. I'm going to turn the lights on just so there's background light. One sec. Okay. Hopefully that's a little bit better so I don't look like I'm sitting in darkness over here. What questions do you have? Let's see. I'll go to Facebook first. Tina, how do you react when someone says, I can't say you're beautiful, but beautiful selfie, as I got today? My response was not at all beautiful, to the point was overcoming doing a selfie that was hard to begin with. Tina, was that from a man or a woman? I might need context with that one. Because I can't say you're beautiful, but it was a beautiful selfie. Might be a married dude or a married woman who's like, oh, I don't want to say another human's beautiful because my spouse will be upset, but nice picture. I mean, it sounds like someone who's just dancing around trying to express what they want to say. It was from a woman. Okay. Is this woman straight in a relationship? I don't mean to ask a question that I just context matters. Because if this was a gay woman who was married to another woman, like again, that's an interesting thing to type on someone's thing, like you look beautiful, and her wife is like, hey, what are you doing? Don't know her on a group. So it's random person you don't know. This is the other thing I realized. Most people aren't that great at communicating, if you haven't noticed. So when you're out in the world and things are going on and people are expressing themselves, you realize like, wow, most people aren't that great at communicating with each other. So just random person in a group. It can mean whatever you want it to mean. So here's my thought. Most people out in the world, when they just say like, that's beautiful, this sucks, that's cool, it's an expression of what's going on in them more so than you. I've learned as you watch how people react and respond to the world around them, it's just them showing you what's going on in their own spirit. If they're mean and aggressive and rude and attack shit, it's usually because inside of themselves they're being mean and aggressive and attacking themselves. If everything is beautiful to them and everything is amazing to them and everything is exciting to them, it's usually because inside they found a way to live in that beautiful space. But it really depends on the person. Let's see. How do I feel truly safe to express my feminine around my man if I'm programmed to close off and relate the power to my masculine? Oof, big question. Who's the best person that can teach on that stuff? Um, so there's a couple things that come to mind. Marianne Williamson has a really good like relationship course where she talks about healing the inner stuff that goes on. So that'd be one place. I Google Marianne Williamson and look up some of the healing stuff she has about healing the inner parts of who you are. Most of the time, if you feel uncomfortable expressing all of who you are, I'd also think of these three questions, and 0 to 10 or -10 to +10, 0 being neutral. How would you respond? I am enough. So if you look yourself in the mirror eye to eye and you say, I am enough, how would you rate that? Like, are you overflowing? You know you're absolutely enough in every pore of your being. So other people, Danielle Laporte can help with healing inner stuff. Brene Brown can help with healing inner stuff. Thanks, Sinead. And so the other concept is I am enough. 0 to 10, how would you rate yourself there? I'm loved enough, meaning you feel like every ounce of your being, you have love just beaming through every pore of who you are. And I have enough, meaning I have more than I need in this world. And if you look at those three buckets, I would figure out which one isn't full. Because when I'm loved enough, I have enough, and I am enough are overflowing, man, you'll express all of who you are because you don't need a response from anybody else. You don't need a reaction from anybody. You don't care how they respond. I mean, you hope they love it, but if they don't, good for them. You don't need a damn thing from them. And so I would look at those three buckets and figure out which one isn't filled and then spend some time filling it back up. We did episodes on that earlier in the 100-day challenge here. So you can scroll back on my Instagram profile and they're right there. And if you fill those up, all of a sudden, if all three of those buckets are filled, it's easy to express yourself. But it's very difficult to express yourself if all three of those buckets aren't filled or if any one of them isn't filled. How can we sound less aggressive when we speak? Do not yell at people. That is very aggressive. Sometimes, I didn't mean to yell at you. Sometimes it's just the tone and pitch and tempo. Because I could be super aggressive talking really soft, and I can get really aggressive at someone. Or I can be very loving yelling at you too. And so it comes down to sometimes just your tone, your tempo, your pitch, your words, all kinds of things. And there's aggressive, passive aggressive, there's all kinds of ways to communicate. But the practicing different words, practicing different phrases and thoughts, and pacing differently, speaking in different tones and tempos and noises and sounds, practicing speaking along a different thing. You could practice in a way of just talking, maybe whisper the stuff you want to say. But as you switch different tones and tempos and pitches and speeds, and either you could talk really fast or you could talk really slow. It'll change someone's entire experience of what you're saying. Let's see. Okay, one more. Tina says, it hurt me, but I brushed it off, then tried to make a new one. Tina, I would also look at those 3 buckets and figure out, I am enough, I'm loved enough, I have enough. If you look at that, I'm loved enough, one thing you might want to do is go spend 15 minutes, look yourself deeply, deeply eye to eye in the mirror, and pour just an endless amount of love, gratitude, and appreciation into who you are, what you've done, where you've been, what you've experienced. And what happens is as you pour every ounce of love you have into yourself, all of a sudden you realize you don't need someone's reflection or someone else's love or acknowledgement of who you are. You start to find beauty in the things that you once used to call a flaw in yourself. There was a post I put up a couple of days ago, is perfection is the day you can look at yourself and the things that you used to think of as a flaw, now you find deep beauty in, because it's just you. There's little things, and that's practice pouring love into the parts of yourself that normally you would judge. And so a lot of times the reason people become sensitive, it's like, ow, 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 it hurts when someone says something like that, is because we judge the shit out of ourselves about that same topic. And so what happens is, if you go backwards and instead of judging it, you choose to love it, all of a sudden in that moment, it's filled with love. And if someone else judges it, good for them. And again, go back, logical or illogical, act of love or cry for help. Most of the time when people go on rants on Facebook to attack someone, it's an illogical cry for help, meaning they're in pain. Therefore, if you help them solve their pain, all of a sudden you get a beautiful human back. Please recommend some books. Go read The Alchemist. Find your journey in life. Okay, I'm out. My wife is home. Our friends are here. It's her birthday. I'm going to take her to dinner. So hopefully you have an amazing morning, evening, afternoon. If this was helpful, share it with someone. We believe that sharing is caring. We like caring people around here, so make sure to share. And I'll see y'all tomorrow for day number 56.